What happens when a team tries to bridge the past to the present? What's up, y'all? I'm Derek, the marketing point guard, and today we're talking about the magic of nostalgia. Let's get into it. There's a reason why we keep coming back to the 90s for NBA inspiration and designs. There's so much energy, nostalgia, and history wrapped up in that moment. And the Magic did a great job of tapping into that for their recent brand refresh. I mean, the franchise literally started in the 90s, and they leveraged all of that history and imagery to kind of refresh it for the modern look. They call it an ode to the OG. And that's a great insight because that's where their winning ways started. You know, they drafted Shaq right out the bat, got Penny the next year, and had the makings of an early dynasty. And they had the iconic pinstripe look that permeated just the culture. Everybody had the pinstripes, and you know, it helps when you have Nike behind Penny Hardaway, making him feel larger than life. So this is just a big cultural moment. So as they have kind of wavered throughout the years, coming back to the pinstripes is always the way to go, because it's not just their history, there's winning attached to it, and that's where they started their franchise. It's always important to pull on the emotional equity of a golden era, and that's what the Magic had in the 90s, and we're able to kind of recapture again with Dwight Howard in the late 2010s, and they had a version of the pinstripes there as well. So that being the strategic insight and creative piece that they wanted to tie and build their brand around was genius. And I think that's why it worked exceptionally well on the jerseys. Even though I'm personally more of a fan of the Stars jerseys that T-Mac wore back in the day, they didn't do a lot of winning in those. And with any sort of relaunch or refresh, there's a presentation element that becomes very important. And I think the Magic did an excellent job of rolling out their new uniforms. The only thing you can maybe critique is the timing, as it kind of dropped right before the finals and then kind of got lost in all that shuffle. But regardless of that, they were able to sort of create their own moment. You know, down in Orlando, they had players come out and unveil the icon and association jerseys, which were, you know, the traditional home and aways, and have this kind of opening day pageantry and press moment down there. And then on the backside, they sort of had the clean portrait shots with their star athletes, which, you know, having worked on the team side, the biggest struggle sometimes is getting the right players to do what you want them to do. So for them to have Paolo and Wagner and Jalen Suggs all be available to shoot in each jersey and then also do some shots together in the offseason was masterful, right? And that's not lost on me that's a big achievement to kind of have those beauty shots to roll out with this whole campaign, because it helps sells it through when your best players and the players who are going to kind of be associated with this are the first representation we see. So they get the player involvement, key. They tap on the legends, right? Like, again, we referenced earlier, this jersey is an ode to the OG, and the OG are the ones that Penny and Shaq wore back in the day. So having a unboxing moment sort of with Penny where he gets to look at the jersey and kind of capturing that content and have him be a part of your rollout is special. And then also doubling back and getting Dwight Howard to do the same thing. It just creates that connection with winning. And I think that's really what this whole process was about. It's not just a rebrand, it's a reconnection to their history and the equity that they've built up over time. And then just for sort of the crossover appeal, they tapped Jeff Hamilton to do the custom leather jackets, which expertly tied in what the inspiration for their statement jerseys are. The classic warm-ups that, you know, they wore in their first couple of seasons, kind of blending that look with their new word mark on this jacket, kind of reminiscent of the warm-up jacket, was just really sharp stuff, and really helps to communicate and tell the story and build the narrative that they're trying to get across. And so all of this was sharp, but there was a little bit of tension that I felt looking at this whole rollout, and that started with the logo. Now, where they were able to pull all the great elements from the past and connections, the logo just missed the mark on that. You know, the 90s was all about bold text, big fonts, kind of over characterizations. And although for most brands, it's a deviation from their lineage. So if you look at somebody like the Pistons, right, they go from this kind of clean logo to this wild piston in the 90s, and they kind of revert back. This is the Magic's legacy. They started in this, so there shouldn't be anything to run away from or run back to. They should kind of stand boldly in this. But just in general, there is this overall trend of minimalism just in design, but also in sports logos that are stripping away the character and the feel of each individual brand. And, I think the global logo has become so homogenous amongst basketball. I think this is now the 13th team that has this similar circle with the team name around it, a basketball kind of motif in the middle. It really kind of kicked off with the Raptors when they refreshed their brand, and now everybody's logo looks like this. And that's not great. I think what we are losing amongst the individual teams is their own personal identity, right? And that's what people connect to. If everybody looks the same and feels the same, then how do you stand out? So where the Magic did an expert job of that in their uniforms, they kind of fumbled on the logo. So in all honesty, if you're gonna dip your foot into nostalgia, go all the way. And that's the only critique I really have for them, is they did a great job on the jerseys. Follow it up, keep it going with the logos, right? And don't just settle for average and settle for what everybody else is doing and what the normal trends are. Keep pushing those boundaries, and that's how you stand out. That's how you make an iconic brand. That's how you build the affinity, because the Magic are actually positioned to be good for a little while. Like, the East is going to be a little shaky next year, given Tatum's injury and whatever happens with Giannis. So it's kind of open, and they have a nice young team with some young pieces, and they have a chance to continue to add to their legacy and their heritage. And these jerseys might be the connection point for the next wave of fans. So you don't want to give them a bad product to attach to. So it's imperative, to hit these moments, right? Because it all matters and it all connects back. And in 25 years, this is going to be the inspiration for something that they do at that time. In sports and in everywhere, nostalgia really is currency, and you have to use it wisely. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Like I said, I think the refresh was needed. It's clean. I like the jerseys. I like what they did there. It's just the logo I'm having a hard time with. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. And if you like what you see here, like, subscribe. Love to continue to grow this channel and give you guys more content like this. Catch y'all on the next one.